Ever travel to a capital city and wonder, like, how did this place become the center of everything?
Yeah, sometimes the most unassuming spots have these wild histories.
Totally. And today, we're diving deep into one of those stories, a story about a capital city that couldn't stay put.
Oh, this is about the Chin state in Myanmar, right?
Yeah,
I've heard the capital hopped around a bit.
exactly. It's like a game of historical musical chairs, but with, political intrigue and even a daring assassination plot thrown in.
Sounds intense.
Oh, it is. We're using historian Dr. Vumson Suantak's work as our guide, particularly his insights into how the Chin capital ended up where it did. But buckle up, because this story is anything but straightforward.
Well, I'm all ears. Or, I
What?
guess, all eyes on the page. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So let's rewind back to the late 1800s. Picture the Chin Hills, this rugged, mountainous region in present-day western Myanmar.
I've seen pictures. It's a stunning landscape.
Absolutely stunning, but also incredibly diverse. Back then, it was home to numerous Chin communities, each with its own distinct culture and history.
Right, and the British, in their quest for, well, everything, set their sights on the Chin Hills.
They did. And like any good imperial power, their first move was to establish a foothold. They called it Fort White, plunked right down in Sazang territory. Seems logical, right? Secure a base, then expand outwards.
Makes sense on paper. But I'm guessing it wasn't that simple.
Not even close. See, the British may have underestimated the complexities of the Chin Hills.
You mean the fact that the Chin people weren't exactly thrilled about being colonized?
That and the fact that these communities had their own leaders, alliances, rivalries, a whole power structure that didn't just bend to British will.
So how did that play out?
Well, a few years after Fort White is established, boom, a daring assassination plot targeting a British officer named Carey.
Whoa, hold on. Someone tried to assassinate a British officer.
Multiple Chin chiefs were in on it, actually. They cooked up this elaborate plan to lure Carey into a trap.
Talk about a power move. But they failed, I assume.
They did. The assassination attempt was unsuccessful, but it sent shockwaves through the British administration.
I bet it did. That's not just an attack on one guy. It's a direct challenge to their whole authority.
Exactly. It exposed those simmering tensions and proved that the British couldn't just waltz in and expect everyone to fall in line.
So how did the British respond?
Well, they definitely didn't back down. Instead, they doubled down on control. And part of that involved, you guessed it, relocating their capital.
They moved it from Fort White.
Yep. They decided on a new location, Fulham.
Fulham. Okay, but why Fulham? What was so special about it?
Strategy, mainly. Fulham was more centrally located within the Chin Hills, giving the British better access to different areas and more control over the surrounding territories.
So it was less about Fulham itself, more about what controlling Fulham represented.
Exactly. Plus, they went all in on infrastructure there.
Yeah.
Police stations, post offices, telegraph lines.
The whole colonial playbook. Establish a presence, project power, assert dominance.
Precisely. And to solidify their grip even further, they created the Chin Hills Battalion. But get this, it wasn't just British soldiers.
Oh, so they recruited locally.
They did. It was a mix of local Chin recruits and even Indian sepoys who were part of the British Indian Army.
Wow, that's fascinating. This seemingly small corner of the empire was a melting pot of different groups, all caught up in this web of colonial power.
Absolutely. It wasn't just the British versus the Chin. It was way more complicated than that. There were alliances, rivalries, shifting loyalties, a whole lot of maneuvering happening behind the scenes. And all of that fed into the complex story of how the Chin state capital ended up where it did.
All right, so we've got Fulham, the strategically vital spot, now under British control. But history, as we know, rarely stands still.
You're telling me. World War II turned the world upside down, and empires, the British Empire included, started crumbling. And for Burma, that meant independence in 1948. After years under British rule, they were finally charting their own course. You'd think this would be a clean break, right? The Chin state, free from colonial influence, gets to decide its own fate.
Well, independence is rarely a simple mission accomplished moment. It's the start of a whole new set of challenges, especially for a place like the Chin state.
Right, because it's not just about independence from Britain anymore. It's about figuring out their place within this newly formed nation of Burma. And I'm guessing that question of where does our capital belong pops up again.
Oh, absolutely. See, the Chin Hills district, which now included other areas like Matupi, Mindat, and Palatwa, became this semi-autonomous region within Burma called the Chin Special Division.
Okay, so a little bit of self-governance, but still tied to Burma.
Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. They kept Fulham as the administrative hub, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It had been the center for decades.
Sure, seems practical, but
I'm sensing a but coming.
the Minister of Chin Affairs, the big cheese himself, was based all the way down in Rangoon.
Wait, what? Rangoon? That's like hundreds of miles away. So you've got the administrative heart in one place and the political heart way down south. Recipe for tension, right?
Oh, you bet. It became this whole point of contention, like physically representing the struggle between the Chin people wanting autonomy but also being part of Burma.
A tale of two cities, except with way higher stakes.
And it all comes to a head in the late 1950s when the Chin Affairs Minister, a fellow named Ral Hamung, decides he wants to move the capital to Hakka.
Hakka. Hold on, hasn't that name come up before? It has. Ramung's home district, actually. So there's that personal connection. But this was also during a super volatile time in Burmese politics.
Right, things were getting messy with the whole AFPFL splitting up.
Totally. And right in the middle of it all steps General Nguyen.
Oh boy, no win. If I remember my history, that guy was not one to mess with.
Understatement. He saw this whole Hakka move as a direct challenge. So what does he do? Issues an ultimatum to Ral Hamung, resign or else.
Wow, talk about an awkward staff meeting. So did Ralph Case.
He did. Step down, the move to Hakka was scrapped, and Phalam, for the time being, remained the Chin state capital. But with Nguyen flexing his muscles, it was clear this wasn't the end of the story.
So we've got this powder keg of political tension, a divided ruling party, and General Nguyen clearly calling the shot.
Yeah, and then in 1962, things explode. Nguyen seizes power in a military coup. Game changer, not just for Burma as a whole, but especially for the Chin state.
Because I'm guessing the whole where should our capital be debate didn't just disappear.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
It gets even more tangled up with Nguyen's agenda. First thing he does, appoints a new guy, Sun Ko-lian, to head up the Chin State Council.
Okay, so new leader, new era, maybe a chance for a fresh start with the whole capital situation.
You'd think, right?
Yeah.
But Sun Ko-lian, he's not playing it safe. Instead of trying to appease Nguyen, he decides to make a move of his own.
Oh boy, here we go again. What does he do? Try to revive the move to Hakka?
Nope. He goes in a totally different direction.
Yeah.
Decides to relocate the Chin administration to Kalamyo.
Kalamyo, okay, that's a new one. Where's that and why the sudden switch?
Kalamyo is in that Kale Kaba Mithigangal Valley we talked about earlier, remember?
Right.
Rich farmland, strategically important, historically a point of contention between different groups.
Right. That fertile valley cutting through the hills, almost like a crossroads.
Exactly. So by moving the administration there, Sun Ko-lian is making a statement. He's reasserting a Chin presence in this contested space.
Bold move, but also probably not going to make him many friends among those who saw Kalamyo as their turf.
You got it. Certain Burman factions were furious. They saw it as a direct challenge, a land grab. And who do they complain to? Nguyen, of course.
Ah, back to the big man himself. So what does Nguyen do? Sends in the troops.
He calls a meeting, gets Sun Ko-lian, Colonel Ziangtin, a key military figure at the time, a few other important folks, all in a room.
Oh, this is getting good. I can already picture the tension in that room.
Right. And supposedly, Nguyen, he's fuming, tells Sun Ko-lian to figure out a new location for the Chin administration, and fast.
But doesn't specify where, just get it out of Kalamyo. Classic power play.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. We have these conflicting accounts of what happens next. Colonel Ziangtin, he's called away on some business, leaves his deputy, a Colonel Van Kool, in charge.
Uh-oh. I feel like something's about to go down.
You think? While Ziangtin's gone, Van Kool seizes the opportunity. He sends a telegram directly to Nguyen Tu, who was like the second in command in the Chin administration.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What does this telegram say?
It's short and to the point. Move everything to Hakka.
Wait, seriously? They decided the fate of the Chin state capital through a telegram?
Apparently. And Nguyen Tu, he doesn't waste any time. Gets to work day and night, moving the entire administration through rain and everything else.
That's dedication. What about Ziangtin? What happens when he gets back and finds out what his deputy did?
He tries to stop it, sends his own telegram countermanding the order. But by then it's too late. Nguyen Tu somehow intercepts the telegram, makes sure everything keeps moving to Hakka.
Wow. So after all that back and forth, Hakka becomes the capital, not through some grand plan, but because of a telegram sent while the boss was out of town.
That's how it seems to have gone down. Hakka, a place that wasn't strategically vital, not economically powerful, became the capital almost by accident.
And what about that fertile valley, that crossroads that Sun Ko-lian was trying to reclaim for the Chin state?
Gone. With the move to Hakka, They lost access to that region, and it had a real impact, both economically and symbolically.
Yeah.
Some people even see it as a deliberate attempt to marginalize the Qin people, cutting them off from resources and power.
Man, what a story. We started with the British Empire, then independence, political maneuvering, a military coup, and it all comes down to a telegram and a very efficient deputy.
It just goes to show, sometimes the biggest events in history hinge on these seemingly small, almost random moments.
It really makes you think about all those what ifs. What if that assassination plot against that British officer had succeeded? What if Raoul Hung had stood up to Nguyen? What if Colonel Luntin had just stayed in his office that day?
Right. It's like those moments reveal how unpredictable history really is. And in the case of the Qin state capital, that unpredictability led to a decision with lasting consequences.
It's a good reminder that the places we think of as permanent, those centers of power, they all have a story, often a messy and complicated one. So next time you're looking at a map, think about the Qin state. It's a place where geography and history are deeply intertwined, where the question of where does our capital belong wasn't just about location, but about power, identity, and the constant push and pull of forces that shape our world.